Afterwards, I arranged the duvet upon my futon. Tomorrow we would embark for Kofu, and I had to be sure I was ready for the long journey. Please, I pleaded, please don't let this trip turn out as Toba Fushimi did. I uttered this prayer under my breath, clasping my hands tightly together and shut my eyes. Oh, please, oh, please, oh, please, oh, please, oh, please. Alright. Wow, that was the end of Chapter 1. Chapter 1 felt kind of long this time to me. Don't know if that was just me. Might have been just me. Maybe because there was a lot of drama going on. It felt really... Okay, since we're starting a new chapter, though, I do have a question. 30%! Alright, I'll take it. We bid our farewell to the city of Edo, departing en route to Kofu Castle. So we didn't go to our home this time when we were in Edo, interestingly enough. I guess we don't care about medicine. Now we were operating as the Koyo Regulatory Company, with over 200 and counting within our ranks. Also, one other thing, I'm trying to remember. In every other route, have we run into a demon in the first chapter? Like in Heisuke, we ran into Sen. Before him was Hajime. We ran into both Father and Amagiri. In Toshi... I'm already forgetting. I can't remember with Toshi and Soji if we ran into... I think we ran into Brother with Soji's route in the first chapter. Or was it early in the second? I can't remember. And I can't remember with Toshi's for sure. If we ran into Chikage or not. Anyway. Because if we have run into demons and all the other ones, this is the first one where we were just completely separated from all of that for a change. Kind of interesting. I'll have to look at... try and see if I can figure that out later. I can't remember if I read this. I'm going to read it again. Now we were operating as the Koyo Regulatory Company with over 200 and counting within our ranks. Thankfully, Harada had been able to convince Hijikata for me to join their convoy, and so off we went on our campaign to take back the castle. Okay, good, because if I was left behind, I'd be in trouble. The Fury Corps, however, which had included both Sanan and Heisuke, were left behind on standby in Edo. Phew. Okita, on the other hand, had expressed interest in joining our campaign, hoping to recover in time to leave with us to Kofu, but... his condition was worsening, and upon Hijikata's command, he was ordered to return to convalescent Edo. Poor boy, still trying to fight the good fight. Soji... he expressed some interest. There was one change, however, that proved to be unmissable to everyone in our ranks. Alright, time to ogle some boys. It was. Heyo. Hey Soma, how are those tight sleeves fitting you? Are they too constricting?
Well, compared to Japanese clothing, yeah.
But then again, we won't have to worry about tying our sashes every 10 minutes, which is nice.
I wouldn't know. I was unaware of what constituted as fashion trends in the West, which made their new uniforms appear so alien to me. Seeing everyone become so dapper in their brand new wardrobes made me blush excitedly. I get you, girl.
It's not every day that they give us new digs like this. You should have gotten a new uniform too.
I should have. Oh no, I couldn't possibly. Although I had been speaking to both Soma and Nomura, my eyes were constantly elsewhere, searching for someone else in particular. Where is Harada? Just as the thought crossed my mind. Yeah, he gets his own CG for the ogling. Oh my goodness, this is his intro. Is he like leaning against a tree and over us? This is great.
Oh, what's this? You're still wearing that? How last season of you. There you go, getting my hopes up and seeing you in some Western threads.
Oh, Was that?
Hmm? What's with the funny face? Do you not recognize me now or something? It's me, Sanosuke Harada.
I was right. You are Harada. I apologize. It's just that you look so different in your new uniform that it caught me off guard.
Oh, really?
Harada scowled a little bit, perhaps taken aback by my comment. Yep. Have you always been this tall? Dang, man. It's funny, because I feel like he looks the least... Well, maybe not him, but like him and Shin. Is that it? I'm trying to think. Him, Shin, and Sanan, I think, of the Shinsengumi boys, looks the least different. I mean, he did cut his hair too, but anyway.
What do you mean it caught you off guard?
He blurted out his question, scanning my facial expression for any hint of a clue. What do you mean?
There's a lot going on, isn't there? I mean, it's understandable since it's a little unusual. I'm sure you have your own taste and style.
Well, The black fabric clung to Harada's figure, tightly wrapping around the length of his toned, lean physique. Compared to his original Japanese uniform, he was practically a different person. I'd never seen how long Harada's legs were before. You know what? That was a fair thing to say. I mean, I'm also like, were you always this tall? That he was so tall was no surprise to me, but seeing how snugly the clothes fit around his arms and waist made me realize just how fit he was. I have to say, it suits you quite well.
Oh, yeah? Thanks. But man, these buttons are so goddamn tight. It might be better for me to pop one or two.
Mm-hmm. He says slowly. He says as he slowly unbuttons a couple buttons. I was just kidding! Don't lean over me with your tall physique and slowly unbutton your shirt. Dude, how could you? Oh. Alright. Well. Harada reached towards the top button near his neck and slowly undid it, 'cause he would. You're just doing this on purpose, aren't you? Suddenly, his coat opened up to reveal the skin stretching from his neck to his sternum. I felt hot all of a sudden, turning to look away out of embarrassment. I'm with you, girl. It's really warm in here.
What's the matter, Chizuru? You're blushing.
Oh, nothing.
You're such a weirdo.
I wondered why I'd reacted so awkwardly. Hey, you reacted perfectly naturally. The sight of his bare chest behind his kimono was a familiar one to me. After a moment, Harada walked a few steps away, inspecting his new uniform. Relief. Come to think of it, I haven't seen Kondo anywhere.
Doesn't look like he's caught up with us yet. I guess he's still stuck in Hino. Makes sense that he would, since Kondo's from Hino and all. What's he playing at? Now's not the time to be partying up at the tavern on his little celebration tour. I get he wants to throw his weight around a little bit, being a daimyo and all, but he's got a job to do. Hey, hold your tongue. Kondo isn't eating or drinking like some pig in a pen. Some of the younger men around Hino have been interested in joining our ranks. What better way to rouse morale for the new recruits than with a drink, right? You would know, Shin. Hijikata joined the tip of his thumb and index finger to mimic the act of drinking a shot of sake, motioning upwards playfully, but Nakakura was unimpressed. Nice try, Toshi. I appreciated it. I sure hope so. I just can't help but feel that the guy's losing his touch a little bit, you know?
Just then, Saito, who had been scouting ahead of us in the convoy, approached Hijikata.
Commander, I have urgent news to report. What is it?
Saito rushed over to Hijikata's side, whispering into his ear discreetly. I wonder what could have been bothering him. Had something happened? Hichikata's expression gradually dropped as Saito continued his reporting into his ear.
The enemy's already reached Kofu Castle. Are you absolutely certain? Nothing is for certain, but given their patterns of movement around the castle, I am quite sure. Send a message to the chief. We gotta make sure they don't see us coming.
By the time the sun set, our convoy had finally reached its destination to the base of the mountain range surrounding Kofu Castle. It's freezing here. While the season may have been spring, the chilly winds tunneling through the mountain pass were far more wintry. I shivered violently as each hair on my arm stood up.
Chizuru, you okay? If you're cold, come warm up beside me.
Oh, I'm fine. It's just, will everything be okay? I heard that along the way, some of our men started to go missing from the formation.
Yeah, from what I've been told, we've got a little under half of our guys left.
Why? Do you think they got lost back in the forest or something?
Man, you're adorable, you know that? It's just cute seeing how much faith you have in people. No one got lost back there.
Huh? Then why?
If I had to guess, they probably got scared off as soon as they heard Kofu Castle was taken by the Imperial Army and made a break for it.
Oh no.
Yeah, and these guys call themselves men. If you're scared of death, might as well have thrown away your sword and never enlisted.
Harada muttered to himself in disbelief, but I was beginning to grow concerned. Would we stand anywhere near the same chances of victory with nearly half of the troops?
Gather round, everyone! Let's start our meeting!
Kondo, who had finally arrived to meet us at the front of the convoy, rallied all of the remaining forces. Harada, Nagakura, Saito, and Hijikata were all standing together, some of them with their arms crossed in frustration. Nagakura was the first to make his feelings known.
The time to retreat is now. If they beat us there, then we've got no shot at taking that castle with how few troops we have. I'm with Shinpachi. Kondo, you're a shrewd leader, so I'm sure you're aware, but laying siege to the castle is only possible if we vastly outnumber our opponents, both in number of soldiers and artillery. If we keep going, then we'll be marching all of our men to their deaths. There is truth to what they say.
Kondo shut his eyes, taking all of the captain's opinions into consideration. After reopening his eyes, he gazed at his men sternly.
We will continue to camp here and scope all enemy activity. Retreat is not an option. What? The entire bill for this campaign is being footed by the Okami. Retreating would do irreparable damage to our name. We would have no chance to save face. Save face? Are you kidding me? What's more important to you, the lives of your men or saving some goddamn face? You really think any of us will put a dent in that castle against the Imperial Army with how many soldiers we've got out here? Shinpachi, calm down.
Nagakura was enraged, with veins popping out of his forehead, and it took Harada to restrain him from charging towards Kondo.
I'm gonna call in the reinforcements. You guys stay here and look after the men. They're running late, but there's another brigade scheduled to join our convoy here. As soon as the reinforcements show up, then it won't be too long before we can take the castle. So try and be patient for just a little bit longer.
Hijikata, going out of his way to reassure Nagakura, left not much room to argue any further.
Well, if what you're telling us is true, then I'll back down.
Nagakura begrudgingly lowered his fist, taking in deep breaths to calm himself down.
Alright then. I'm gonna head back to Edo. Take care of the place while I'm gone, boys.
Hijikata spun around, heading back up the mountain trail by himself. I was a very bad page and stayed behind. Later that evening, we set up our encampment along the mountain ridge, resting after an arduous day of traveling. The restless winds carried the chill from the snowy mountaintop to our camp, but perhaps out of nervous anticipation for the battle yet to come, the frigidness hadn't bothered me at all. Harada and Nagakura had experienced the devastating effects of war firsthand during the Battle of Toba-Fushimi, but for me, it was the first time ever setting foot anywhere near an active battlefield.
Who would have ever guessed that we find ourselves in this mess? Sorry for dragging you into this, Chizuru.
Please pay me no mind. Forget about me. Are all of you going to be okay tomorrow? Harada's expression suddenly turned grim. Maybe I should have given more thought before asking him such a delicate question.
Kondo wasn't there. He didn't see any of the shit we dealt with at Toba-Fushimi. It wouldn't surprise me to hear his only knowledge about the Imperials comes from dossiers.
I was right. This was the wrong question to ask. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have pressed the subject.
Hey, nothing to apologize for. Since we're in this together, I promise to keep you safe. So whatever you do, try not to worry about anything too much. I'd be dead before I let myself get into a situation where I get my ass kicked again.
I immediately understood that which Harada had been referencing. Towards the end of Toba-Fushimi, Kazuma and Shiranui challenged Harada to a duel, which led to Harada biting off far more than he was able to chew.
So, what do you think you'd want to do once the war's over?
Who, me?
Yeah, you. There's no telling what tomorrow holds, so it's important to think about the future. If possible, I want to live a quiet life. One of solitude. What about you?
How should I respond? I'll save. I'm not sure what she means by it's quite the fantasy. Like, is she saying that what she wants for the future is a fantasy, or that it's pure fantasy to think about the future when we've got, like, a battle going on here right now? I'm not sure yet. It's pretty straightforward. It's like, I don't know. I mean, he shared his dream with He shared his dream with me. I'll do it's quite the fantasy and hope that it's what I'm hoping is that it's she has a fantasy about what the future could be. Well, for me, it's quite the fantasy. My dream is somewhat lofty. Okay, yeah, good. She is doing, it is her dream she's sharing, so that's good. Let me hear your fantasy, girl.
Oh, really? Do tell. Don't say it's something stupid, like an extravagant kimono, or marrying into the house of a lord, or something along those lines.
Well, actually, there isn't much in the way of money or material that I want out of life. All I'd ask for is a peaceful life. Even if it were minimal, that's all I would want. Sounds like our dreams are on the same wavelength, winku winku.
What? That's all you want? You called it a fantasy, so I got the idea that you were pining after status or an enormous house.
Huh? But does it not sound like a fantasy to you?
Nah. Most women just want to be pampered. You buy them an expensive kimono, maybe a hairpin or two, and they're golden.
Harada perked up as he spoke, seemingly coming across a realization in the process.
Actually, now that I think about it, you haven't really had a typical life since coming to Kyoto, have you? You've been cooped up in the compounds, forced to wear men's clothing, and almost every other weekend you were nearly abducted by demons.
Oh, well... I wondered why Harada may have wanted to bring this up to me. Was it out of guilt? I shifted nervously, thinking about it. Oh, hi! Suddenly, I felt the soft caress of Harada's fingers underneath my chin, nudging me to point my eyes toward him. This boy's just throwing CGs at my face, left, right, and center. Not that I'm complaining, but, like, dang, I had to work for some CGs and a lot of the other routes. Huh? Harada?
Boy, you and I get along pretty well together. Seems like we even share the same dream.
Ah, so you noticed that.
If I were to make you my wife, then we'd be one step closer to making our dreams come true, huh?
Thump thump indeed.
Are you making an offer?
What? His blunt words made my heart swell, but I was unsure whether or not I could believe him. I feel you. Was he being genuine? Was he just talking about fantasies? Was he teasing? I don't know. Or was this, again, some ploy to coax me into his charm? An attempt at small talk he knew would work? As I gazed into the amber pool swirling in his eyes, I struggled to think of an answer. Totally understandable, girl. Please, don't tease me like that. I averted my gaze out of embarrassment, fidgeting anxiously in search of a way to avoid looking at him. The awful truth of the matter, however, was... if he were being truthful, then it was exactly what I'd wanted to hear. How delighted would I be? Just then.
But I'm not trying to tease you. Whatever the case, if we want to make our dreams happen, then we gotta be sure to survive, right? You and me, both.
Right. Marrying Harada. Living the rest of our lives blissfully in the peace of each other's company. There was little else to compare in the realm of envisioning a more perfect life. In a way, it cleared my mind. Harada alone was enough to give me strength. However, in spite of how easily I could have fallen into constantly thinking of this imagined future, if the demons were eventually to return in the interest of abducting me, Harada would be no match against them. To some extent, I was merely an obstacle, preventing him from realizing the life he had always wished for. Oh, girl. I believe in the marriage dream. You two will ride on a horse and look out at the sunset as the final CG. I knows it. Calling it now. By the dawn of the next day, the Imperial Army began the gradual march towards the direction of the Shinsengumi's distant campsite. The captains, having been deferred responsibility in Hijikata's temporary absence, were tasked with leading the troops with their new objectives. Under the stress of limited time, the captains ordered the troops to hold the perimeter, letting the Imperial Army make their advance. Their vantage point along the mountain ridge, they hoped, would be enough to deter the encroaching Imperial forces until Hijikata arrived with backup. Some of the newer, less experienced warriors were incapable of holding their lines, however, as the threat drew closer and closer to them.
Halt! We are the Shinsengumi! Not one step closer!
Without waiting for the order, one of the soldiers revealed the name of our camp, his finger shaking tentatively on the trigger of his rifle. Crack went the rifle.
Damn it! This is why I hate having to scramble and deal with all these idiot recruits. Saito, cover me! I'm going in! Roger.
At long last, the battle had begun. Thunderous cannon fire rumbled the earth beneath my feet. My ears rattled, blindsided by the chaos. Gah! They're all just running away from these guys. Ah! The Imperials fired their rifles, gunfire bellowing frighteningly in the distance. Waves of soldiers dropped lifelessly to the ground as the bullets ripped through their flesh in succession. Harada watched helplessly from the back line.
Those rifles they've got. Those are the same as what the Satsuma Choshu had during the Battle of Tobafushimi. Those men know exactly what they're doing.
Harada sprinted towards Kondo to warn him.
Kondo, we gotta retreat! We can't compete with those guns. They'll tear us apart! What's that? Is this your first time on the battlefield, or are you just too scared to fight? What? That's not it at all! Open your eyes! Our men are being gunned down in cold blood before they ever set foot on that field! At this rate, there'll be no men to take with us back home! You call yourself a man? Samurai honor their name, not their lives. Not a chance are we going to turn our backs on the enemy!
This was Kondo's first time leading his troops into a large-scale mobilized conflict. To Kondo, Harada's advice was thin-skinned. To Harada, Kondo's orders were a death wish.
All of you, follow me! Ready your swords, gentlemen. Today we take back what's ours.
Kondo gave a rallying cry, charging with a group of young soldiers right at his back.
Ugh.
Harada looked crushed, saying nothing else as he watched the group run frantically into the field. What happened immediately following their charge was exactly what Harada had predicted. Firing line, basically. Lunging forwards with their swords high in the air, our soldiers were massacred by a spray of bullets piercing their fragile bodies. Calling this a battle was insulting. It was a one-sided bloodbath. Our collective resolve was crumbling as a pile of corpses grew taller and taller, the hot stench of blood thickening in the air.
You satisfied? We're past the point of no return. This war isn't being fought with hope and goodwill. It's being fought with blood, steel, and gunpowder.
Kondo bit into his lip anxiously. One by one, he watched his men fall to the ground, bullet holes strewn across their tattered bodies. Kondo stared towards the ground pensively in regret.
Everyone fall back! We're retreating!
Realizing he could no longer stand the humiliation of watching his men suffer, Kondo ordered the retreat.
And of course, the captain of the 10th Division stuck cleaning up after everyone's mess in the rear.
Will you be alright, Harada?
Get to safety with everyone else. I'll be fine. This isn't how I die.
Harada winked, speaking to me with confidence, but how would he have any idea of knowing if he'd be okay? It was his spear against an army of riflemen, and he was supposed to give us time to escape? Just then... Oh gosh. You too? A ghost-like apparition materialized, hovering over a scattering of freshly killed soldiers. It was...
Still alive, I see, eh? How convenient to find you here waiting for me.
Shiranui!
I thought you were more intelligent than that. Surely if you actually cared about the Shinsengumi, then you would have left them ages ago.
His lips curled into a malicious grin when... Harada jumped into the fray, thrusting his spear towards Shiranui with zeal.
Whoa!
Shiranui noticed him in time to avoid the strike. He didn't let him, monologue, Harada. Then he drew his pistol, pointing it towards Harada.
What the hell, Harada? You got something to say to me?
Yeah, plenty. If she didn't want to be with us anymore and leaves on her own accord, that's one thing. But there's no good reason to hand her over to a bunch of lowlives who have no idea on the proper way to treat a lady.
Dang. I love that look, like, okay, dude, sure.
Still running that big mouth of yours, huh? Have you already forgotten how quickly I dealt with you back at Toba-Fushimi?
Shiranui steadied his pistol hand, pointing the gun's barrel at Harada to get a good shot, but...
Guess again!
Harada was quicker to react, and suddenly he closed the distance between himself and Shiranui, making it harder for Shiranui to fire his gun. Harada's pace was quicker than my eye could follow, and all I caught was the shine of his spear's tip as he jumped towards Shiranui.
Ah!
The spear was aimed for Shiranui's heart, but the demon's reflexes were too quick, shifting his weight easily to deflect the incoming polearm. Shiranui gnashed his teeth angrily, and then... Uh-oh. The blast of his gunfire cracked in my ears, and I watched his gun tilt upwards from recoil. A bullet whizzed by, narrowly missing Harada's face by grazing his cheek, leaving a bleeding line in its wake. Harada, however, showed no signs of faltering. Thrust after thrust, he poked Shiranui, giving him barely any chance to make distance between them. And then... Harada swung the spear upwards from under Shiranui's hand, smacking the gun out of his reach. Nice.
Ah, your skill has improved nicely since our last encounter. Have you had a change of heart?
Yeah. Feels like I'm finally starting to realize what I'm fighting for out here.
Despite the fact that the two of them were exchanging attacks in a battle for their lives, they were both smiling, determined to keep the other engaged as their duel increased in ferocity. Harada spread his feet, getting into stance with his sphere to prepare one last lunge when...
God damn it! What the hell's up with these guys?
I heard Nagakura cry out in the distance.
What's going on here? I stuck my sword right through him, but...
Uh-oh, it's Dad's Fury Army.
They are absorbing my attacks as well. Not to mention they are moving abnormally, almost as if they are... You gotta be joking me! There's broad daylight out here! Will someone please explain to me just how the hell a Fury can fight under sunlight now? Furies?
Our worst fears came to fruition as we gazed at the circle of languid moving soldiers closing upon us. Squinting my eyes, I saw their red pulsating eyes and their eerie tufts of white hair. Normally, sunlight plagued the Furies with sluggish movement and an onset of debilitating fatigue. These Furies, however, moved freely under the sunlight, unaffected by such conditions. From each end of the mountain ridge, our men found themselves surrounded by the encircling Furies. Eee. Getting Sen flashbacks here. The Furies moved like unstrung marionettes, their languid arms viciously stabbing into the bodies of nearby corpses.
Damn it! The hell's going on here?
Harada lifted his spear, poking quick jabs into the group of Furies making their gradual advance.
Ha 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 ha.
No matter how many times the end of Harada's spear was sunk into each Fury's soldier's flesh, their powers of regeneration gave them the strength to push forward. Some would break off a small distance from the pack, kneeling upon the war-torn earth to drink the blood of the fresh corpses scattered beneath them. Watching the ravenous Furies rip flesh from bone with their sharp fangs repulsed me to my core.
Chizuru, hide behind the trees and shut your eyes! This isn't something for a lady's eyes.
Aw. Thanks, boy. I ducked down and ran low to the ground, moving behind a tree out of view as Harada instructed.
Hey, Shiranui! What the hell are you playing at? You summoned them, didn't you?
I did not summon them. To my knowledge, there is only one individual who possesses an absolute control of their will.
There's Dad! Huh. Alright, so Dad's in this one. I was startled by the rustle of a nearby bush, from out of which creeped a small, familiar figure. Our eyes joined, and I cupped my hand over my mouth in shock. The figure was... the last person I had hoped it to be. But, in an act of cosmic fate, the person for whom I had been searching most. He was... Father? Uttering his name aloud made my lips quiver.
It has been quite some time, Chizuru.
A jovial smile was spread across his face, a sense of comfort that I had been deprived of for some time. But what was he doing here, of all places?
Kondo, you old bastard. Have you finally lost your mind? Why the hell did you summon these creatures?
These creatures? How impolite of you to insult them with your subjective epithets. These are my children, my beloved creations.
Children?
My research and expertise on the Furies knows no rival. It is my belief that the Furies are on the brink of surpassing both humans and demons in all facets. As you may be aware, the harsh rays of the sun have been the largest deterrent in maximizing their potential. I have poured days, weeks, and months into tireless research, searching a way to overcome this weakness. What do you think of my magnificent breakthrough? No longer are they burdened to live in fear of the sun. Soon their species will overpower humans and demons alike in every conceivable physical attribute, whether under the moon or the sun.
Father smiled as he boasted enthusiastically, his eyes gleaming with pride.
Why do you fool yourself with these delusions of grandeur? A fake is a fake is a fake. I thought you agreed to put an end to your experiments. If Kazuma learns that you have not held up your end of the deal, he will punish you with no remorse.
Kazuma, you say? Ah, I believe I recognize a demon with that name.
What are you?
Such a stubborn brute. He would crassly intrude my experiments with threats of violence. Fake or not, they are capable of more than you can imagine. Need more proof? Not even the infamous Shinsengumi stood any chance against my Furies in Kyoto. The shogunate had unwittingly concocted the perfect recipe for their own undoing. Westerners be damned. These Furies are the next evolution in demon kind.
My heart swirled in my chest like I had stumbled into a horrible nightmare. Although my eyes recognized my father, pontificating loudly in front of me, my heart had not. A rabid insanity burned in his eyes, and I witnessed firsthand what kind of morbid depravities his vile creations had been capable of.
Chizuru, go on ahead. I'll handle the situation.
Harada insisted that I run back with the others, but this was my father. There must have been something I could do. But what? How could I help save Harada? By not being here. Trust me, your dad's bad news bears, and I think Shiranui might actually help him out with this, so let's trust Harada. He's got this. I hoped that I could reason with him, but seeing his dull, vacant expression, I knew something sinister was lurking within him, and more likely than not, nothing I could have said would have any bearing on his actions. Harada, please. Stop my father.
It might come to me killing him, though. Are you prepared to accept that?
Well, even though I braced for the possibility that it could happen, I couldn't bring myself to nod. Harada, intuitive as ever, caught on to my trepidation. Aw. Thanks, Boo.
Well, let's just make sure it doesn't come to that, shall we? I mean, I'd like to avoid having to kill your father just as much as you don't want to see that happen.
Now let us end this pathetic charade. Kill that demon and every one of those Shinsengumi soldiers. Feast, my Furies. Feast on their blood.
Father stuck 2 fingers in his mouth and whistled, its howl echoing across the mountain pass.
What the?
Phew. Suddenly, the Furies' movements accelerated as if triggered by Father's high-pitched whistle. Oh boy.
Watch yourself, Harada!
Nice! This is a team-up I can believe in! You two would be great! Shiranui barked words of caution at Harada, but one of the Furies had wide splotches of blood clotting into his uniform, no doubt from a wave of gunfire. He licked his lips eerily, his insatiable hunger abound. No, at this rate, they could seriously hurt Harada. I had to suspend disbelief to accept that the man standing in front of me was my father. No, I refused to believe it, no matter how much I tried. But all of this felt real. The sights, the stench, all of it. Even if I had desperately wished otherwise.
Next evolution of demons? How delusional can you be? You are committing crimes against nature. You fail to realize that your abominable creations will cast ruin over this entire country.
Shiranui, who only moments ago had engaged in fierce combat with Harada, turned to face Father.
Hey Harada, let's call it a truce for now. We have some fakes to deal with.
No sooner than when the words left his mouth. Nice. Shiranui fired his pistol at the crowd of Furies, and my nose caught the smell of fresh gunpowder.
to work as a team. Can't say no to that.
Alright, this is the team up I wanted. Harada pointed his spear forward, readying himself. He slid his feet across the floor and jabbed his spear into the head of a Fury bent feasting upon a corpse.
Ka!
Harada cracked the rib of a nearby Fury, swinging the blunt end of his spear into its exposed abdomen.
Oh!
As quickly as it was knocked down, however, it rose back to its feet, laughing as it resumed its charge.
Do you expect me to tremble at the woeful pairing of a human and a demon coming to challenge me?
Father puffed his chest arrogantly as he watched Harada and Shiranui working to subdue his creations. As the air became thick with the blood of slain Furies, more emerged to feast on their allies' corpses.
Damn it!
I watched Harada's spear crack the skull of a charging foe before turning to gaze at his surroundings. Despite their efforts, they were hopelessly outnumbered. Every injury they'd inflicted healed within seconds. Every broken bone, bloody gash, and dismembered limb regenerated before our eyes, and they would simply rise from the ground to resume their advance.
Sana, we gotta retreat. There's just too many of them. We can't get them all. Come here while there is still time. Otherwise we will tire ourselves too quickly.
Nagakora and Saito tried to scream some sense into Harada, both of them dripping sweat and exhaustion.
I know, but...
Even Harada was beginning to show signs of his fatigue, his efforts starting to wane in each of his strikes. Harada! No matter where my eyes looked, however, there were no routes to escape through. We were surrounded. Dozens of red, bloodthirsty eyes stared back at us, blocking off the path through the mountain. Alright. Nice. Suddenly, Shiranui spoke out.
Hey, Harada. Why don't I distract all of the fakes for you? That way you could run for it. What do you say?
But if you do that, you might...
Ha! Don't lump me in with you pathetic humans. There's no chance in hell I'd let any of these sick things touch a single hair on my pretty head.
Nice.
Listen to me. In 10 seconds, you and the rest of your men will sprint in the direction of that Fury. That's the only corner where there aren't too many of them. Don't mess this up.
Right. Got it.
Harada gulped and he counted down the seconds under his breath.
Oh? Given up so soon, have we? I was hoping you would be interested in playing with me a little while longer.
The crowd of Furies toyed with their swords loosely in their hands as they sauntered menacingly towards us. Just then...
4, 3, 2, 1...
Go!
Shiranui roared at us, firing his gun wildly at the pack of surrounding Furies. There's a hole!
Ah!
His bullet pierced through the forehead of the Fury at which he had been aiming, its body dropping to the floor with a dull thud. As the rest of the Furies took a second to react, Harada realized his opportunity and screamed out.
This way, Chizuru!
I felt the tight squeeze of his arm around my body. We dashed together towards a group of stunned Furies.
Sano, come on! Hurry!
Nagakora nodded in agreement, and all of us raced down the mountainous trail, sparing no second to turn and look back over our shoulders.
Hey, Harada! I am leaving the demon girl under your care. Women of her kind are a rarity. You had better keep her safe. Our conversation will be settled next time. Prepare yourself accordingly. Understood?
Thanks, Shiranui. Behind us echoed the distant sound of Shiranui's shouting, followed by the crack of his gun firing. I hurriedly threw one foot in front of the next, rushing as fast as we humanly could towards Edo. What a lad. Whew, and that was the end of chapter 2. Alright, time to go into chapter 3. Nice.